Hi there, it's Kathleen here, and I'm excited to be sharing a project as part of a guest design spot on the Spellbinders blog. And Spellbinders was kind enough to send me the whole new Shadowbox die release by Becca Feeken, or Feeken, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it. So these are all the dies that are in the set, so you can make shadow boxes and have lots of different dies to embellish those shadow boxes with frames and yeah, lots of different things. And I thought I would show you how to put together a shadow box or a photo frame with one of those die sets, because although it's pretty easy to do once you've got the hang of it, it's not all that straightforward, and it may need a little bit of explanation at first. So for my shadow boxes, I'm going to use the new crepe paper Maggie Holmes Sunny Days collection. And on this pattern paper that I just cut apart, there was this piece that said, "Let's go where the Wi-Fi is weak and the sun is strong." So I really liked that and wanted it to be one of the photos, so to say, that I would frame. So now I need to find out how big my frame needs to be. And this cut apart here is 3 by 4 inches wide. And since I will be using the 3/4 inch shadow box border, I need a 4.5 by 5.5 inch frame. The shadow box die set is also available with a 1 inch and a 1/2 inch border, so depending on that, on which one you use, you will need a different sized frame. So now that I know that I will need 4.5 by 5.5 inches for the frame, I need to cut apart two pieces that measure 3 by 4.5 inches and two pieces that measure 3 by 5.5 inches. And then you may also need one piece that has the same measurements as your frame, so you can use this for backing your shadow box. So these are all the pieces that I need for my frame. And I decided to use this pink pattern paper because it contrasts nicely with this black and white cut apart that I wanted to frame. So I cut apart all of these 4 pieces that I need, and what I do now is I take the die set. And there are two different styles, I would say. So you can see here that you need to put the regular brackets on the larger pieces, and the 2 other ones you place on the smaller pieces. And what you do is you line those dies up on the edges, so you can see that they have small holes in the corners of the dies. And this is where you line them up with the corners or edges of your paper pieces. And I'm using washi tape to keep the dies in place, because here it is important that they are lined up nicely, because they will not only cut your paper pieces, but they will also score them. So it's important that the score lines will match up later on. So I'm using my Spellbinders Platinum 6 to cut all of my paper strips or paper pieces. And you need to do it 4 times in total, so 2 for each style of brackets. I'm not sure how to explain it better, but you can see what I'm doing. So once you have those cut, you will see here that, as I said, they not only cut, but they also score the paper. And because they only score at the edges of your paper strips, you can actually make a frame as large as you like, because you now only need to connect the score lines either with a bone folder or on a scoreboard, or if you have really small paper pieces where the score lines are very close together, you could also just fold them by hand. So I'm using my Fiskars trimmer with a scoring blade to connect those score lines. And make sure not to press too hard or not to score too hard, because your paper might break. It depends a bit on what kind of paper and what paper weight you are using. Yeah, and I would also advise to actually try it out one time with just some scrap paper you have. Because that's what I did, just to make sure that I get all of the instructions right, and then I could use my actual paper that I wanted to use. So now that you have all of those 4 pieces cut, you need connecting pieces. You could use the die that is in the set, but I just decided to cut some from the paper I had left from cutting the frame. And the only thing that's important is that the width of those paper strips fits on this part of the frame. So the length isn't that important because it will be hidden. It should be a bit longer so that your pieces are connected together really well. So you can see what I'm doing here, and normally I use double-sided adhesive, but for these pieces I found that liquid adhesive works better because it's much stronger, and it definitely helps to keep your frame together and not, keep it from falling apart. Because with my first try with the scrap paper, I used double-sided adhesive and it did come apart on the edges then later on. So you can see here I placed all of those 4 connecting pieces, and that was on the inside of the frame. So now I turn the whole thing around. This is what will be on the outside, this design, and where I marked the paper with an X, that's where I put my double-sided adhesive tape, because now we need to actually form our frame. So you only need to put it on these 4 parts that I marked with the X. Make sure that you have the right one, and then I peel each one off. So I peel them off one by one. So I peel one off, put this part of the frame together, and then peel the next one off, because if you peel all of the backings off at the same time, it becomes a really sticky and tricky method to put everything together. So yeah, make sure to line up all of the edges nicely so that in the end you will have a nice and even frame. And then when you've done that, when you have all of the 4 kind of tubes together, but I did cut my backing paper a little bit shorter or a little bit smaller than the size of the frame, because it just needed to be large enough so that it would, so that I could adhere it to the frame. So this is now what it looks like when it's all put together. Here's the larger one that I made with the same 3/4 inch die, and now that I have my finished frames, I can start embellishing. So I'm using some of the different types of stickers from the Sunny Days collection, so chipboard stickers, the cardstock stickers, and some of the puffy stickers, just to spruce up the frames a little bit and to add some details. And I really like the different levels of height you get, so you really have this shadow box look. So yeah, off camera I also made a third frame, a square one, I think, with the measurements of 5 by 5 inches. And yeah, I really like the look of them. I love how easy it is to do with the dies. And you can find all of the information, all the dies I used and everything on the Spellbinders blog, so you will find a link to that blog post below. And if you have any questions or any comments, please let me know and I will make sure to get back to you. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope to see you again soon. Bye!